So, you wanna make your fantasy world, be it for a novel, RPG campaign, or just making one for fun. So what should we start with? Kingdoms, tropes, cultures, religions, or maps? Yes, we're doing maps today. Seems rather inconsequential, we might think that they are less needed than a lot of stuff in world building, but it's a thing I like, and others too. It's considered secondary to a lot of things world building. So let me try to give it an appreciation video. So, a map is a physical representation of your world. Compared to book descriptions or elaborations for a DM, a map is literally an image of your world. Kind of like fan art, but instead of a character, it's literally the whole ass planet. While it might seem easy to make a map, just make a river, a few mountains, drawn inside a random shape, with a few lakes, and done, right? Well, yes and no, it's complicated. If you follow map maker communities, read instructions and get help on this topic, you'll find out there are a lot of rules. So if you're officially on a timer and don't have time to see a series of videos where you might forget parts of the rules, cough, me, then here is a budget build for you. Rivers start at from high points and end at low points. Mountains form at the center or edge of continents, then deserts happen in an area of low humidity. Generally behind a mountain range, generally in an area where the humidity disappears, thanks to planetary rotation axis. Yes, it's not easy, what do you expect? With that out of the way, everything's now fine, right? Of course not, have you seen the above? This is a massive oversimplification. By definition, there are a lot of people calling me right now a goddamn idiot. But for those who just wanna be done and read it, this is the best. This is the sort of situation most people generally do, especially if it is a job. But there are many ways to make a world. If you want to avoid things, generally try to make it simple. If you don't want the absolute basics, but still use them because of the basics, you're gonna use this rough stone and polish to perfection. Partially, for a simple reason. Not all roads need to follow the rules of tectonics and physics to make sense. Planets can be as surreal as you want, from fantasy roads to sci-fi to God knows what. A writer is a god of the road, and if God says there shall be no tectonics, well then no need to worry about where a mountain range would appear. While it might seem like the ultimate free stress, if you write, you should still worry about your world, such as where cities, nations, landmarks and others are. Why? Well, pin on this for later. If you're a dungeon master or GM, then the answer is very obvious, because your players might decide it's time to grind XP or decide to deviate from the route. So you need to know where it's dangerous to adventure, travel, and where it's fine to do that without facing danger. If you're trying to make a realistic world that doesn't escalate levels with your players, it's quite important. If not, just make sure the world has a logic. Now, if you're on destitution budget or have absolutely no care for any map making, many here, I can bet, don't lie, or have burned through creativity and decided to just rush to the end, then, well, here is a trick to use. It's art. I'm not joking or criticizing. A lot of artists, world builders, comic and manga writers just use art as a template. Not bad with the idea, most of them can be very different, with many tweaks. Warhammer comes to mind. This is basically the biggest budget cut you can make. Just copy art design, be it from old maps or just what feels like using from a history book, and you're done. But it's also considered the lazy way out. That will be called out a lot. But it's fine, even more if you work in anime department in Japan, you're just copying and pasting the same city over and over. I don't judge, you know the crunch time of work that country has? Well, if you don't want a lot of work, this is the way to have less stress over this. Except, remember the ping about not stressing and physical representation of your old part? Yeah, about that. Yeah, I might be saying it's fine to let some stuff to the wayside in lazy mode or just accept some of the wackiness and not stress over, but you should. A map of your world, if you are a writer, that is the physical representation of the world you are making. It's your setting. Ignoring it is like ignoring your own world building. it will cause many issues. You need to put effort into it, not just brush it aside. This can result in issues such as how something can cross the road with ease, or simply how can someone go from the outer core to the inner core in minutes. Star Wars is a really good example of distances being unknown. Episode 8 made it worse. But to use another example that is in sci-fi, let's go to Japan with Attack on Titan. Yes, anime. You haven't seen it, go see it. If you haven't, then spoilers. So, in later arcs of the show, the story centers around the rumbling, an apocalyptic stampede of titans that would flatten the world into a wasteland. Our group of heroes then goes to try to stop it, casually leaving a fascist state unsolved. And they are too late. 80% of humanity died, and Eren, the one who killed nearly all of mankind, is stopped at okay. Yeah, you can see the issue. I don't need to continue romanticizing this. The Attack on Titan road is literally set on Earth, and there is no problem with that. In fact, it gives more lens of realism to certain parts of it, but the true problem is ignoring your road to the point 80% of humanity is within this circle. By the way, I'm giving to the manga creator credit here, because if you go by the manga and anime, the titans are not going in a circle, and you raise more difficult questions to answer. This is the curse of the writer, where if they ignore the wrong road building, things can happen. In other words, a map might seem minor in the things, but it's also a window into what the writer's priorities are. It can be time-cutting, or it can be lazy, depending on your end view, but I think it's good to see if a writer has respect to its own creation or how much he does not care.